So let's talk about not feeling good enough. How that feeling of not being good enough is manifesting in our life, how it's impacting us, and how the feeling of not good enough is projecting out on our relationships, on how we see ourselves, on how we see the world. Why do we feel not good enough in the first place? And what do we do to mask it? What do we do to keep at least a false sense of having or being good enough? Hi everyone, it's Sylwia here. So today we will be talking about the feeling of not being good enough and how it's impacting our life. But first of all, where even the idea that we are not good enough is coming from. Because so many people are feeling not good enough without even knowing that, without not even noticing that this is the feeling, that this is the core belief that they have. And that feeling, that belief of not being good enough is actually the core, the base of any relationship that you're making, of any interaction that you might have, the relationship that you have with yourself. If you feel that you're not good enough, this is the base for everything else that is going on in your life. So where is it coming from? Why so many of you are feeling that you're not good enough? The feeling of not being good enough can be as old as you. So what does that mean? The feeling of not being good enough, you could have developed since very early childhood. It's the feeling of not good enough is really based on the relationship or the lack of your needs that were met in your childhood by your parents, by caregivers, by people around you, people that you loved. But somehow their love, that the way they loved you, for you it wasn't enough. But as a child you couldn't take it, you didn't have the logical mind developed yet. So really what you felt, okay, if they don't love me the way I would love them to love me, it means there must be something wrong with me. It means that I'm not lovable. It means that if there's something wrong with me, it means I'm not good enough. If I don't love, if I don't get the love I want, the love I need, it's simple. I'm not good enough to love. And then every relationship that you have, every desire that you have, any achievements, it's based on that feeling. Am I not good enough? Am I good enough? Am I lovable? Am I not lovable? And it's like a spiral of, I want to do it because I'm not good enough. It's easier than to procrastinate when you feel like you're not good enough. What's the point of me even trying? If I know deep down I'm not good enough. It's so much, as I said, it's a core. It's a core of our beliefs. It's the foundation of any belief that we might have. And then people who might not feel good enough, they might feel the only how they feel good enough is when they work a lot, when they will be perfect, when they keep going, when they're afraid to stop, because if they would stop, it would actually amplify the feeling of I'm not good enough, so I better keep going, I better try to do something. On the other hand, people who don't feel good enough, it also could be, sure, what's the point trying? I know I'm going to fail in this. I know I won't do it well. So either way, wherever you are, ask yourself, is the feeling of not being good enough actually dictate how you live your life? Does the feeling of not good enough indicates how you live your life, what kind of relationship you have, what kind of job you have, whether you do something that you want or not? The feeling of not being good enough, it can affect, and it does affect yourself. It makes, if you feel not good enough, and then it's hard for you to see gratitude, then it's hard for you to see anything that you can be grateful for in your life. You don't see good things, you take things for granted because you're being fixated on the one thing: you're not good enough. And when when you're constantly thinking and feeling that you're not good enough, you're all the time creating lack in your life. You're all the time being in the state of lack because you're concentrating on what you don't have, on what you didn't get, on what you didn't receive, rather than what can I change here? What will work for me? Am I really that not good enough, or is it something that I believed since I was a child? Maybe it's time to change. Maybe it's time to take control. Maybe it's time to see if I can change my thoughts and then how I feel about myself, and then see if my life, my reality will actually change. So as you can see, the feeling of not good enough is a really very important question. It's very important awareness for you to have. Because if you feel that you're not good enough, but you choosing then not to feel like this anymore, that is a huge chance for you to change. Before you go there, before you go to any changing mode, ask yourself, why am I feeling not good enough? What happened in my life? What happened in my childhood that made me feel like I wasn't good enough? What this belief stands for? What kind of relationship do I have developed this belief that I'm not good enough? On what relationships? Is it a relationship with your mom? Is it a relationship with your dad? What kind of relationship? As a child, you were born very vulnerable, very open, and all what you wanted was safety and love. That was your core main needs. If your parents were not emotionally available, if they didn't love you the way you needed them to love you, it wasn't your fault. It only meant that they haven't processed their own traumas. They haven't processed themselves, their own issues. And you, by not feeling good enough, and you by not working on trying to change that, you're only repeating the same pattern over and over, all over again in your family. This is trauma. When you haven't met when you haven't your needs met, when you didn't receive the love you needed, when your parents were emotionally unavailable, when you didn't have the parents that you really wanted, it wasn't your fault or it wasn't their fault. It's nothing to do with blame. It's about knowing, okay, they were wounded, but they didn't heal their wounds. Now I have the same wounds because of them, but that could stop in here. That could stop within me. The trauma stops with me. That's it. I'm not passing on to my children. I'm not passing this on to another generation. Enough. This isn't about blaming. This is about acknowledging yourself, your true feelings, your true needs, and then reparenting yourself, rechanging the direction of your thoughts, of your emotions. You can do it. You can. So the feeling of being or not being good enough, it's really very much close related to your developmental trauma. If, once again, your needs were not met, your emotional needs, and then as a result, you feel not good enough, it means that for so many years you have been living in survival mode. It only means that you were surviving your life. You are not living your life. There's a huge difference in that. So it's time for you to change. It's time for you to reconsider the feeling of not good enough. Whether is that how you want to feel, or is it time to change? It's time to change if you don't feel good enough. It's time to start feeling good enough. It's time to start healing your trauma. It's time to heal your inner child. It's time to start living. Really, it's time. So everyone, I would like you to start thinking about whether you're in survival mode or not. And are you happy or not? If not, is it because you feel not good enough? Is it because you feel that you don't deserve better? If you have those thoughts, those beliefs, ask yourself, why do you have them? And then start changing those thoughts. Start deciding otherwise for yourself. Thank you so much for listening today. I will talk to you and I will see you very soon. Have a lovely day or evening, whatever time you're watching this. Just reconsider the relationship with yourself. Loads of love, like always. Bye.